Hello and welcome to a video where I explore sound in SDL2. I start with the same window class and lerp function I used in my rendering video, just in case I decide I want to use some features from it later. To begin using SDL's sound library, I need to initialize the audio module. I also create a basic struct and callback function that will be used to store the state of our sound source and generate the next samples respectively. Next, I want to check which audio drivers and devices are available on my system. I then need to create an audio device. I do this by filling out a struct containing all the requirements of my audio device. I tell it I'm going to use 16 bits per sample. I give a function pointer to my callback function. I'm going to be sampling at 44.1 kHz and only using one channel. I want to have a buffer size of 1024 samples and a reference to an instance of my struct. Then I mess up at creating an audio device and go back up to my callback function, making it fill up my buffer with a sine wave. I then create some simple start and stop functions for my audio device that use SDL pause device and wonder why my code explodes. I then stop double initializing my audio device, instead deciding to use only the SDL2 way of doing it, and I also figure out that the size parameter passed to my callback buffer is the length of the buffer in bytes, not samples. So I was writing twice the buffer length. Disappointingly, this still doesn't make any sound, so after more research I find I can use a null pointer as my first argument to use a default device, playing a nice full volume sine wave into my headphones. After a quick break to let my hearing recover and contemplate my decisions, I come back and add a volume parameter to my struct. I also want to experiment with different sorts of waves, so I make my callback function pass the time frequency and volume to another function which returns the sample at that point. I then create both a sine wave and a saw wave function that take these arguments so I can easily switch between them. I then test my sawtooth wave and check it works. The final thing I want to do in this video is make it slightly more interactive, setting the frequency and volume based on the position of the mouse cursor. So I add functions for getting the mouse coordinates to my window class, and each frame I linearly interpolate the x coordinate to a frequency between 20 and 20,000, and the y coordinate to a volume between 0 and 0.1. I then set my sound data to these values and test, showing that this seems to work, but it is a bit messed up as the frequency changes. It's also worth noting that I should probably have implemented some additional thread safety, such as wrapping my struct in a mutex, so that only one thread can access it at a time.